Super Bowl 56 is now in the books and is the best time of year for sports, in my opinion. And we just had the Super Bowl, the NFL playoffs were great. And now we're looking forward to March Madness, some college basketball, some NBA. I mean, it's just a great time of year. Here on the Mayo Show, we're here to talk a little Super Bowl, a little recap. It's just me and Shane today. Alex is not here. Say what's up, Shane.
What's up? Fun Super Bowl. I mean, I saw some people saying it wasn't a good game. I thought it was a great game. I feel like people just
Now, you
compare
have
Super
way too high expectations if you say that's not a good game.
yeah, people compare Super Bowls to like the 28-3 comeback and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You just gotta like appreciate that game came down to the wire.
No, for sure. I mean, there were a lot of like crucial moments in that game. I mean, there were those penalties that people were talking about after the game that T Higgins right out of the halftime, that 75-yard touchdown that really turned the tide of the game. I mean, might as well just talk about penalties for a second. I mean, at the end of the game too, there was also a couple crucial calls which I didn't like because I was rooting for the Bengals and I thought those were some BS calls, but that the Ramsey one was also a BS call. I mean, Shane, what do you think about those?
I think I think the game wasn't like or the reffing wasn't to an extent where you can say that it decided the game. Like I saw people complaining about it and I mean, like, there's always going to be stuff. I think the Rams got cheated more than the Bengals. Like, if the Rams had lost, I think they had more of a case just because of that T. Higgins touchdown, which like really shifted momentum coming out of the second half. On the first play of the second half. But like those calls towards the end, like the holding on Cup, that's debatable.
Yeah, I thought that was not a holding, but
Like
I
I
mean,
could
it
see
might have been
that.
to wait a makeup call. We don't know.
I could see that going either way. And then like people were saying Donald was offsides on the final play, like maybe by an inch. That's
That's
there's
tough
always
to call.
yeah, there's always going to be like stuff that you could go back and tweak a little,
Yeah,
but
overall, like, because the Super Bowl is always a little controversial, but overall, I think that was a pretty good officiated game, to be honest.
they didn't call that many penalties. That was the thing. Like until that like final drive, it felt like
Hmm.
there were no penalties in that game. But
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of penalties, I mean, I just noticed this one point of the game. It was hilarious. Vernon Hargraves celebrated with his teammates on the field when
yeah,
he was out, got a 15-yard penalty, and now he might get fired on his day off. I mean, that's just terrible.
fired,
Or cut.
cut.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
I,
he's a
s-
pretty good corner though, right?
I saw that. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, yeah. That was very dumb, especially in the Super Bowl. Like, you can't
Can't
do
blame
that.
can't blame him though. The hype was probably real high for his teammates, but you gotta wait till they come to the
Hmm.
sideline.
Yeah. I mean, just to move on, talk about Cup winning the MVP of the Super Bowl. I think that was very well deserved. I think Donald also played a very stellar game. He also maybe could have won the MVP, but Cup just made the big plays. I mean, honestly, at the end of that game, Cup was the Rams. He was the Rams offense. He only had 4 catches for what 32 yards going into that final drive. He ended with 8 catches for 92 yards. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
just force fed him the ball. They had to. Sean McVay had some risky play calling, but I think they honestly had to. They had to force feed Cup the ball, get in the best receiver's hands. Um, and I mean, even on that crucial 4th and 1 play that people aren't talking about, I mean, that was the game right there.
Mm-hmm.
When they gave the handoff to Cup, they had to get the ball in his hands. He made the play, then they drove down. He got the touchdown. I mean, it was fitting. What a great season. I mean, Shane, what do you think? Is Cup's is what Cup did this season? Is that the best receiver season ever?
I mean, it has to be the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, I
It
think.
has to be the best. You can make arguments that like Megatron's season was more impressive, that there were seasons more impressive, like because obviously there's still the argument that Cup is running out of the slot, but I'm not gonna like touch on
Yeah, I
that right
know.
now. But like just
Mhm.
that was the best, or you could say that was the greatest season by a wide receiver ever to win Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP. Um, sorry, what am else? This be
Triple
like
Crown.
Triple Crown to almost break two records, almost break the receptions record, almost
Yeah.
break the yards record like that. That's crazy, honestly, especially for someone who was like coming into this season, we didn't know if he was the wide receiver one on his own team.
Mm-hmm.
Like that Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp tandem was just kind of thought of as a duo, but now it's definitely going to be looked at differently moving forward.
Yeah, I think the fact that the fact that that Cup he just took over at the end of the game, and the fact that he has a championship now, and he made that run, and he came up big in every game. He obviously got the Triple Crown in the regular season, although regular season stat wise, he did have one more game than Calvin Johnson did because they made it 18-week season this year. Um, but overall, I'm gonna have to say this is the best or the greatest receiver season ever because he ended up with a Super Bowl MVP and the Super Bowl title. So I think
Yeah.
he would, but also Megatron didn't really have the chance because he was also on the Lions. So
Mhm.
I mean, you can say whatever you want, but Coop definitely had a very legendary season this year. But to
Um,
talk, what's up?
I was just gonna say, going back to that Super Bowl MVP, I was gonna say there were three guys who could have gotten it who like I would have been fine with, which isn't like an off like a that's a pretty rare thing for honestly, because I feel like most Super Bowls in the past have had like one guy, but this year if Stafford, Cup, or Donald got it, I would have been completely fine with it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people are gonna say not Stafford because of the two interceptions, but he came up just as big as Cooper Cup, if you ask me, on that final drive.
Mm-hmm.
Made some incredible throws, and
Yeah,
then
did oh
obviously,
my God, did you see that no look pass?
yeah, to
I mean, I
do
didn't see
that
that
in
in the
that
moment,
situation, to
but
do
that
that
is
in that
crazy.
situation is insane.
That's actually crazy. I mean, that was a perfect look off, perfect pass. I mean, that was a crazy ass play, but um, Stafford did have two picks. Burrow didn't throw a pick, but the thing is with Stafford's two picks, you could easily debate, and I'm probably going to debate that those two picks were not his fault. I mean, the first one, honestly, it wasn't that bad of an interception. A bad decision, obviously, but it was a third and long, and he just aired out to the end zone, got the pick in the end zone, and I mean, if they got stopped, was that a third or fourth down? That was third down, right?
I think it was third.
Yeah, third down. So I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was just a long interception, just a bad decision, but like it wasn't that bad. It didn't do any damage to them really. They would have had to punt anyway.
Hmm.
So, and then the other one, obviously, the guy dropped it. It might have been a little low, but that guy number 18, I forget his name, but he dropped it. He had a pretty bad game. He botched multiple things in that game, I noticed. But
I think that's the same guy that dropped that touchdown against the Niners.
yeah, it was. That was the same guy that really long touchdown pass.
Really long
Like,
last name.
that guy is not it. That guy's not it. But then he dropped it, tipped it right into the Bengals defender's hands. I mean, what do you think? Were those picks Stafford's fault or?
I agree with what you said. I think like on most interceptions, there's always going to be like a part where the quarterback could have made a better decision or like a little bit better of a throw. But honestly, on throws where a receiver gets his hands on it like that, like it's the receiver's fault, but it wasn't a perfect throw by any means. So
Mm. So what would you say? Did Stafford outplay Burrow? Because
that's
remember we were talking about this last
yeah.
pod, and you said the winner, or I said the winner um, plays better in the game. I mean, which is not always the case, as I said. But I mean, you said it was more about the stats. So I don't know. What are you saying about this one?
I said it was more about the stats.
Well, you said it was who plays better on paper. I mean,
I said the winner isn't determined by who plays better, like
is that not like
quarterback.
implying it's who like
Well,
looks
yeah, I meant it
better
as
on
like
paper at the end of the game?
sure. I mean, it's not all like on paper. Like you
Like if
could
you
use the
didn't
eye
watch the
test.
game and you looked at the stats after, you'd probably say Joe Burrow had the better game, right? I mean, actually,
Mm,
Stafford threw three touchdowns though. That's the thing.
Stafford threw three touchdowns. Burrow, honestly, both quarterbacks didn't have like insane games. They both didn't
Yeah.
have like awful games, obviously,
Hmm.
but like I think they played like around the same level. I mean, Burrow didn't impress me in the first half. I don't think he impressed anyone in the first half. Um, but the second half, he came out, threw that touchdown to T. Higgins, which that was not an impressive throw by any means. But to get it there, I
That was
guess.
pretty impressive. He rolled out. He stepped up in the pressure, went to the other side of the line, and then threw it across the
Well,
field to T Higgins.
that's what I mean to get it there. But like the throw, like let's say T. Higgins
Oh,
doesn't grab.
yeah,
Let's say
okay.
T. Higgins doesn't grab Ramsey's face
Well, you think
mask.
that's a pick?
Well, I'm just saying it easily could have been, and like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like we're like
yeah. I
so.
understand that. I get that.
So
Uh,
but both
yeah,
quarterbacks played like they both came through in their moments, but they both had their not so great moments. So I'd say they
yeah.
played around the same.
I mean, the thing is, though, honestly, like Joe Burrow didn't really have much of a chance to do a lot in that game at times because there was so much pressure and he couldn't do anything in a lot of parts in that game, and it was making me so frustrated watching him get pressured and sacked that many times. He tied uh, the number of sacks sacked on him in a single Super Bowl at
Mhm.
7, and he got pressured a lot more times than that. I mean, it was just frustrating to watch. They could not handle Aaron Donald, Von Miller. I mean, we knew this going into the game. I mean, but you would think since he's handled it in the weeks before against these good fronts like the Tennessee Titans that he could maybe do it again. But the Rams are just a different animal, and it was shown in that game.
Yeah, definitely tough to watch, especially on that final play. If you saw the full field view, Jamar Chase somehow put Ramsey on the ground. Ramsey
Yeah.
slipped. I mean, that could have been like one of the greatest plays ever if Aaron Donald just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
rip through that Bengals O line. So
for real. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if he had a little more time. I mean, Stafford had all the time in the world, obviously, but
mhm.
um, Burrow didn't. I mean, I know we were talking about this a little before, but what would you say? I know there's a little debate going on social media about if Stafford should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, what's your take on this?
No,
No?
no, no. What does he have? One Pro Bowl, one. I mean, I'm not the type of guy that's gonna like act like Pro Bowls are like a huge deal, but like I think it does to an extent just show like how good you were compared to your like the other people playing your position at that time. And like, has Matt Stafford ever been a top five quarterback? I mean, you can make an argument this season he was maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like if you're never top five for at least like a 5 year stretch or maybe like at different times, then I can't put you there unless you have like 3 4 rings, other
Uh,
accolades to accommodate for that. But I mean, he's a great quarterback, great career now that he won the Super Bowl, but Hall of Fame, I don't think that he belongs there.
yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think what Richard Sherman says was, I mean, what he said was sort of correct. I mean, I think honestly, it's sort of becoming like a participation kind of thing. In but like him relating to some of the other guys that have been in the Pro Bowl, I could easily see him getting in with a Super Bowl win. I mean, he's been a part of the two greatest receiving seasons of all time, Megatron and Cup. You got to give him some credit for that one. Um, but actually, a stat is Matthew Stafford actually led the NFL this season with 17 interceptions. He is the
Hmm.
first quarterback since Eli Manning to win the Super Bowl after ranking first in picks. So I mean that's an interesting stat. Um, but overall, I don't think he should get in the Hall of Fame yet. I don't think he's done enough. He hasn't been dominant enough. I mean, he had this team around him that was built for success. I mean, they went all in. They give out their picks. Obviously, they came out with a ring. I mean, he's had a good career. I mean, obviously he was stuck on the Lions, so I don't know. You could say something about that, but overall, I'm gonna say he's not a Hall of Famer either.
It would be interesting if they run it back and he does, he has a similar season to this year, let's say. Then it's kind of like you're looking at like an Eli Manning type player. I mean, probably more impressive That like if Stafford ran it back, right? Who would have the better career, Eli Manning or Matt Stafford?
Let me say that again.
If Stafford ran it back and won another Super Bowl with the Rams, who would have the more impressive career, Stafford or Eli Manning?
Stafford, Eli Manning. I don't know. That's a tough question because I mean, obviously Manning beat Brady twice in the Super Bowl. Very impressive. With this same squad, I'd say the Rams have a more overpowered squad, but there's a lot of great teams in the AFC uh, to compete with them. Um, I'm not exactly sure.
Hmm.
What's your answer to that?
I'm not sure because yeah, it's impressive that Eli beat Brady, but you also have to look at how well his defense played in those games, and
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that is true. They were low scoring games.
yeah.
Honestly, if
So
he performs good in that Super Bowl, I'm gonna go with Stafford. Honestly,
I think that's fair because I think if you're just looking at like from a numbers perspective
if
and
he
the
gets a Super Bowl MVP, I might have to go with Stafford.
oh yeah, that's Super Bowl MVPs aren't as valuable as like you would think. I feel like,
Hmm.
but that is yeah. If he plays well in the Super Bowl in this scenario, then I think I would agree.
Hmm. I know Richard Sherman. He said that he when he was mentioning that he didn't think Stafford should be a Hall of Famer. He said at least Matt Ryan has an MVP. So bringing Matt Ryan into the conversation, who would you rather have in the Hall of Fame, Matt Ryan or Matthew Stafford?
I do kind of feel like an MVP might be better on your career. Like obviously, if you ask players, they'd rather have a ring than an MVP,
Hmm.
probably, right? But I feel like an MVP definitely is a bigger thing to have when looking at the Hall of Fame because that shows like you're the best player in the league or close to it at least,
Hmm.
most valuable player in the league. So, you didn't just win a couple playoff games. I'm not trying to put down this run that Stafford had with the Rams, but I feel like I might have to go Matty Ice.
Go Matty Ice. I think I'm gonna go with Stafford. Honestly, like I mentioned before, he was a part of the two greatest receiving seasons ever, but I think goes under goes under the radar. But he had a really impressive run this year. He obviously beat Tom Brady on the way. He beat the Niners, who had beaten the Packers. I mean, he did everything he had to. Played good in those games. And obviously came out with a ring against a hot team in the Bengals. And Matt Ryan, I mean, obviously he had that 28-3 lead against Brady, but so did Matt Stafford, and one of the quarterbacks didn't lose the game. So I'm gonna have to go with Matt Stafford in this situation.
That's an interesting connection. Actually, Stafford never had a 28-3 lead.
27, my bad. Hey, talking about injuries though, there were a good amount of injuries on that game. I mean, OBJ obviously sad to see him go out. I mean, he started the game off hot. I mean, he
That
had
that's
52
that's what
yards
makes
in the
me
beginning.
yeah, that's what makes me happy. I mean, obviously this it's an awful situation that OBJ got injured in the first place, but at least, like that ring, he can really feel like he did make an impact in that Super Bowl because he did. I mean, 52 yards and a touchdown. I don't care like who you are. It's a great impact on a Super Bowl. So
Hmm. Yeah, then he went out with that most likely a torn ACL, which is terrible. And then at the end of the game, actually, Joe Burrow, it was stated after that he played on a sprained MCL at the end of that game, which is pretty crazy. Um,
you know you know who else had a sprained MCL playing in the championship of their sport that doesn't get any like credit for Stephen Curry in 2016, but y'all want to say he choked.
all right, all right. He just had to throw that in there. All right. I mean, actually, I think Stafford in that game also might have had an ankle problem. Not exactly sure, but I think I might have
You
seen that.
can't be a football player and not be banged up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. But I mean, if Burrow's not there next season because the MCL's bad or something like that, that could be terrible for the Bengals. I mean, we saw what they were without him like a couple of years ago, and they went without him being without him and being last in their division to winning their division with Joe Burrow and going to the Super Bowl. So that's a big leap. I think he's a big time player. And I got a hot take for you. In the NFL right now, Burrow is the closest thing we have left in the NFL to Tom Brady.
Closest thing to Tom Brady?
What do you think about that?
No.
Who is in the NFL? Who right now? If you had it, okay. Here's the thing: Tom Brady. In my opinion, there'll never be another Tom Brady. So I'm
Obviously.
not saying he is Tom Brady or anything close, but I'm just saying of anyone in the NFL right now, he's the closest.
No.
Who is then?
No. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers.
but he can't win like Burrow was.
He can't win?
He hasn't. Well,
No.
he did win a Super Bowl,
But
but he's
yeah,
he's lost like
what
the
is
last four
Burrow?
NFC Championship games.
Burrow just lost in the Super Bowl. What?
Okay, but
It's not like Burrow's like 5 rings and you're comparing him
hey,
to
but he's still got
Rodgers.
a lot more ahead of him. Aaron Rodgers is at the end of his career.
Okay, yeah, but you said right now who's the closest. And I
And
wasn't thinking about it
his
from an
play style
accolade.
is just like him.
I would say Aaron Rodgers has more of like a I mean, no quarterback's play style is going to match up perfectly. Like, no, but Joe Burrow is I think he's way more elusive in the pocket than Brady ever was. But I think Rodgers like just has that sort of like wisdom in the pocket and that like calm, cool, collected like presence in the pocket that would remind me of
Burrow
Tom
does
Brady.
too. Burrow's so
No,
calm in the pocket.
I'm saying Rodgers is the
Burrow
closest.
statistically.
I don't think there is someone that's like close to anyone really.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't legitimately think he's the next Tom Brady or anything like that, but I'm just saying I think
I'm
he's the
not giving
closest thing.
I'm not giving Burrow those props.
Hey, in the Super Bowl, Brady threw for 145 and 1 touchdown in his first Super Bowl win, which is basically similar to what Burrow sort of did, except Burrow played better in his first Super Bowl
This is the
than
Super
Brady's first Super Bowl, except
That's
Brady
pulling
had a
one game.
historic defense and a great O-line.
Okay, yeah, obviously if Joe Burrow plays 20 seasons and then wins like 9 Super Bowls, he's better. Like that's just you're pulling one game of Tom Brady. All of those games aren't gonna like match up. Like it's like
He didn't do anything special in the playoffs going into that game either. He
that's
just
what okay.
he just found a way to win,
I'm
like
not
Burrow
saying
was
Joe
until the Super
Burrow.
Bowl.
I'm not okay. Yeah. So what? 2 quarterbacks won, and you're trying to draw a correlation between that. We need to stop before it gets like insane comparing one guy's career to another. Like, oh, on March 13th, they both had
No, but I'm
MCL.
saying their first Super Bowl each. So that's not really random.
That's yeah, well, it is because you're pulling a quarterback that played their first Super Bowl in like 2000 or 9. When did Brady play his first Super Bowl?
2001 or 2002.
2001. The one who played it in 2022. Like that completely
All right.
different things.
But in the same, just to put this out there, in the same amount of games as Burrow in his first playoffs, because there was no wild card, Brady threw 500 less yards and 4 less touchdowns and won the Super Bowl.
Okay, obviously you can cherry pick stats like that in different eras and different. We need to stop comparing Burrow to Brady right now.
No, I'm just saying I legitimately think because he has that it factor and he wins these games and even in his second season he's already just a straight up winner. I mean I know you're gonna say that's everyone's argument, but it's true. And Brady had that too, and that's what made him so good. He might not have been as like talented as a Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, but he found a way to get it done, and that's why he's the greatest of all time.
Okay.
All right. To get into another debate subject, uh, Aaron Donald, uh, is he going to retire? I mean, that's crazy to think about. He's what, 30
No.
years old, and he's thinking of retiring
Yeah,
after he wins the Super Bowl. I mean, I think he's in his prime. Honestly,
that that
it's
made me
ridiculous.
sad.
Yeah.
That made me sad. I don't think he is obviously this year, but I think now that it's thrown out there that means he could after this next season or the season after, which just still feels like too short. Like, I mean, he's still the best player in the NFL. I don't care what anyone says. Like right now, he is like the best player,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think he could be the greatest defensive player ever if he plays a couple more seasons and has some more success, which obviously he would. So I think hanging it up now is just too early. At 30, I don't.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's playing the best football of his career, honestly, right now. I mean, other than that season where what he had like 20 sacks, but I mean, he did this year what he's been doing his whole career. He had 13 sacks. I mean, if you look back at his career, that's pretty much what he has in most of the seasons he's played, except for that one where he just went off and had like 20 sacks. But I mean, he's definitely. I think he's the best player in the NFL, any position. I mean, he's just a freak of nature, and he's crazy. And if you have him on your team, you have a shot on defense, no doubt.
Yeah,
Um, and I honestly think that he's like already one of the best like defensive players, maybe like of all time. I mean, we I know we talked about this, but what's your take on this? Is
well,
he
like
top five?
I think you can make a case that he's two.
He's two behind Lawrence Taylor.
People are making cases he's one. I mean, like
That's
people do.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think.
Lawrence
I mean,
Taylor won a MVP over the entire league
okay. So what's more impressive about his
and
that
two Super
season?
Bowls.
Okay, yeah. What's more impressive about LT's MVP season than like Donald's 20 sack season? Like, I mean, just the fact that he won MVP.
Yeah, it's an accolade. It's an accomplishment, and Donald doesn't have that under his belt.
I think it should be popular opinion that LT is still the greatest defensive player of all time, but like I could see the argument for Aaron Donald being one because he's probably, or I mean, you could make an argument that he's just better. Like he is, like if you lined him up against a prime, I mean, if you put him in the league with a prime LT, that they would that Donald would be like the better player if they play together. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
like
I mean, they are
just
they
who's
are
better
technically
in
two
my
different positions. I mean, you could say that Aaron Donald is double team because he's a lineman, and Lawrence Taylor was a linebacker, so two technically different positions. But I'm still gonna have to go with Lawrence Taylor. He's just like the
like
most iconic, legendary defense player.
if Aaron Donald came out this next season and won defensive player of the year and then won another Super Bowl, I think I'd put Donald number one.
Hmm. That would make it tough for me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I might still be leaning towards LT, but I mean, if he does that, I mean, he's definitely solidified as like top three, probably for sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, as of right now, I'm gonna say that Donald isn't even the best defensive tackle of all time. I still got to go with Reggie White.
Reggie
I
White.
mean, Reggie White still he has three defensive player of the years. He has the most sacks in the Super Bowl. Um, he's a champion with the Packers, 13-time All Pro, 13-time Pro Bowler. I mean, Aaron Donald already has 5 or 8 Pro Bowls, I think. Um,
Does he not have the most sacks of all time?
yeah, Reggie White.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has 200, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Aaron Donald, I think he has what, 98 in 8 seasons.
Hmm.
So if he plays what did Reggie White play? 14 seasons, 13 seasons, 15 seasons, somewhere 13, 14, 15, something like that. I mean, technically he might. I think I did some calculations and some research. I think I think if Aaron Donald keeps up his pace, I think he's bound for like 175 sacks or something like that. I mean, unless he has another one of those breakout 20 sack seasons, he could uh, maybe break it. But I'm still gonna have to go with Reggie White as of right now.
I think I'd go Donald over Reggie White.
Hmm, that is interesting. I mean, honestly, there's also like guys like Bruce Smith and Alan Page that you could say. I'm gonna have to say for sure that Aaron Donald has surpassed Alan Page. Um, but I mean, Bruce Smith, he is also a three-time Defensive Player of the Year winner.
Hmm.
Um, he was on the NFL 100 all-time team. I think he had what? I think he had 175 sacks actually in his career, um, in his like 14 season career. He's in the Hall of Fame now. Aaron Donald will be in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, in the span of time that Aaron Donald has played compared to Bruce Smith, though, I'd say Aaron Donald has surpassed him because he's played such little and done so much. I mean, that might be the reason he's retiring. Who knows? Like, maybe he feels as though he's done everything he's wanted to do in his NFL career already.
I think it's interesting that no one's ever won 4 Defensive Player of the Years though. Like I think that it would be something he would want to do, but
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. All right. Well, to move on. Well, actually, when Aaron Donald was asked the retirement question in the press, he totally deflected it,
yeah.
and then in the parade he was asked, and then McVay was like egging him on. He was saying, "What if we got everyone back?" And he was like, "Then I'll come back." So it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see. I mean, the Rams are obviously seeming to go all in
Hmm.
on this team, which we'll talk about in a little bit about the Rams moving forward, what we think is going to happen with them in the future. Um, what do you think? Will Burrow be back in this tough AFC?
I don't think anytime in the like really near future, like in the next 3 years, I wouldn't say so. I mean, obviously you don't ever know what the playoff picture is going to look like. Like going into this year, you wouldn't think these would be the teams we see, but I think just going off how tough the AFC will be, I don't think Burrow gets back for a while. If he does, I mean, there's a chance he goes his whole career without coming back. Like it's no given, honestly. But not with the O
Yeah,
line he has right now. I don't think that's
it
something you.
definitely isn't a given. I mean, unless you're maybe like Patrick Mahomes now, that he's been
Yeah.
in four AFC championships in the last 4 years.
Hmm.
But there's so many good teams in the AFC. I mean, you have Josh Allen and the Bills. Now you have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You have who knows? Justin Herbert and the Chargers might be up there soon. The Bengals. Who am I blanking on? There has to be one more because they're not.
The Bills.
I said the Bills.
Oh, the Ravens.
The Ravens. I guess sure. I mean that it's even tough for them in the division. You could say because the Ravens probably will be better next year without as many injuries. Um, but I think he could find his way back. I mean, he obviously got there this year. I think the Bengals aren't gonna decline from here. To be honest, I think uh, especially because Joe Burrow's so young, and they found him as their franchise QB, so now they can try to build around him with the O line. I think he could find his way back.
Hmm.
I think we'll definitely see him competing for the in the AFC. I think we'll see him in the playoffs next year. Maybe even in the AFC Championship. I still think that one of those teams like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes will find their way to the Super Bowl because I think it's destined to happen after this year.
Hmm.
So I don't think he's destined to go back to the Super Bowl. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I think the Bengals will be contenders.
Yeah.
Honestly, like for the Rams, on the other hand, I'm gonna say I don't see them being back in the Super Bowl or I mean I see them making the playoffs, I mean, I think the division's even going to be tough next year. Well, actually, except the thing is, now that the Niners have Trey Lance as their quarterback, I think that's going to make it a little tougher for them because he's younger. But I see the Rams making the playoffs, but not making a Super Bowl again, even with the stacked roster, because they have some wide receiver problems actually right now. Uh, let's talk about this right now, but uh, they have to sign Cut back, and they have to sign him for a good deal of money probably. Um,
I think he'll come back.
yeah, he definitely will want to come back, I think. And then they're also gonna have to convince Donald probably to come back, and some of these other guys now that they've won a ring. So it should
Yeah.
be interesting to see what the Rams do. But what do you think about their future?
Well, I think, obviously this year they're going to be contenders if they can bring back those guys. They're this next season. I mean, maybe the year after if they have some of them, but like if you're looking like 5 years ahead, they probably will be one of
Yeah,
the worst
I
teams
mean,
in the
also next
NFL.
year, something to take into account is OBJ, since he has a probably torn ACL, he might be out next year. And I think
Yeah.
he was honestly a big difference maker in this team this year. I mean,
But
before he came in, like what mid-season, um, I mean, Cup was obviously doing Cup things, but you saw at the end of that game they had to really force it to him and really try to do everything they could to get the ball in his hands. But OBJ freed stuff up. I mean, at the beginning of that game, he was going off. They were all in on getting Cup locked down, but OBJ was freed and he was making plays. So he was a big part of their run, especially in that
yeah,
NFC Championship game when he had that really big game.
honestly, it doesn't matter if just going back to the Rams as a whole, like it doesn't matter if the Rams are the worst team in the NFL for like 3 years straight. It's worth it now that they won a Super Bowl. Like that's the sacrifice they were going for when trading all those picks. And like I could say this confidently as an Eagles fan, like them winning that one Super Bowl, I'd like whatever happens in the next 5 years, like you can look back and say like the last 20 years was a success just because you
Hmm.
got that ring. Like, you only remember the best season. You only remember that one season. You don't remember, oh yeah, this team made the playoffs for 4 straight years or whatever. Like I'd say it was worth it. Not that it's smart to sell away your whole future, but when it does work out, it's worth it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of seeing a sort of same thing in the NBA right now, actually, with the Sixers and the Nets. The Nets got a lot of picks,
Hmm.
and the Sixers got James Harden. Talk about that in the next pod, obviously, as we get in the NBA season now that the NFL season has come to a close. And I think this just about wraps it up for this Super Bowl recap and talking a little football, talking towards the future. Can't wait to get into some NFL draft stuff as that approaches. But obviously, another great Super Bowl, another great year of football. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.